What's going on, guys? Gaming Dude back once again, bringing you some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, if you are new to the channel, if y'all could please smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. So, today we have some more interesting news regarding the Marvel world of video games. Now, superhero games have become increasingly popular, whether they be absolute complete failures or just outright success. And it appears now that EA Games is actually getting in on the Marvel gaming action, because not only was a Black Panther video game reportedly in development, it's now been suggested and reported that an Iron Man game is also in development. So could EA Games be setting up their own gaming universe, their own kind of GCU, gaming cinematic universe? Because let's face it, yes, we all love the gameplay of these games, but we also love the cutscenes and cinematics of these games. Like the main story of games like Marvel's Avengers, for example, they are really what captivates audiences. They are really what drive people to want to play. You know, they are the kind of story-driven games that people want from the superhero genre. It's not like those old Nemesis style games where you're just in one set environment and you have to fight off a bunch of dudes and enemies. But anyway, we're going to dive into this and dig up what I have found regarding this rumored Iron Man game, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and how I feel about it and if it's the right time for it. So, on with the show. As I mentioned, a new rumor has suggested that publisher EA Games might be working on a new, and emphasis once again, like I said with the Black Panther game, open world single player video game associated with the Marvel character Iron Man. So, open world, once again, fantastic. I mean, I enjoy playing as Iron Man in Marvel's Avengers, but the worlds are very limited. You're like stuck in this one little box, and there's even invisible barriers stopping you from exploring elsewhere. So the whole concept of an open world Iron Man game is very interesting to me. I'm sure as fans of Marvel or the Marvel games, you guys might be inclined to agree with me, because that way you can just explore and fly around to your heart's content. Much like in Marvel Spider-Man, where you can just swing around and explore to your heart's content. Anyway, this past week, a high-profile new report emerged stating that a Black Panther game was indeed in development at EA Games. And while it was teased at the time that this wasn't the only project that EA was working on with Marvel, it now seems the second title could indeed be tied to Iron Man. According to industry insider Tom Henderson, now Tom Henderson is the same guy who gave us the intel on the Black Panther game, and he has been credited for a lot of his leaks. You know, he has got a lot of shit right. So I'm inclined to believe this guy, and anytime his name pops up in relation to a leak, it will be featured in my videos, because he is a creditable source. He's not one of those BS Redditors that just say, this is happening, oh yeah, believe me, I'm right, I'm on the internet, I'm right about everything. One of those guys, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Mr. Henderson, this additional Marvel game that is in development at EA might be related to Iron Man. Henderson didn't say anything definitive about this matter, but did divulge on social media the other day that he has heard, in quotation marks, a few rumours about the project. Fellow reporter Jeff Grubb also specified that this second Marvel game at EA is one of the single-player variety. Again, love that whole single-player vibe. I mean, once again, Avengers was a ton of fun. Well, the story mode, that is. But it wasn't enough, you know? I did enjoy the story, yes, but it was far too short. You know, there wasn't enough to do. And those worlds that you start off in with, say, Kamala in New Jersey, I would have loved to explore around there, but you're limited to that one little box that the game gives you. And an open world game such as Black Panther and Iron Man lifts those restrictions. And if you find a certain point in a level that you're on and you're like, well, yeah, it's telling me to go over there, but I see something over there that looks interesting, I want to look at that. Not to mention the potential for collectibles, much like Marvel's Spider-Man with all the collectibles in that. It really opens itself up to be an enticing game, a good superhero game. But I still feel, in my personal opinion, that all superhero games should be handed off to Insomniac Games because they've proved they can do it and they can do it right. But I'll get into that a little bit at the end of the video. Now then. Tom Henderson posted on Twitter the following statement. I've heard a few rumours that it's Iron Man, but I never had anything concrete to fully report on until now. Put this heavily under the rumour category and take it with a pinch of salt for now, and if I hear or see more information that's concrete, I'll report on it properly. Just thought this was worth mentioning. Now, the guy wouldn't have bothered to mention it at all if there wasn't some kind of credit behind it. You know, he's an inner worker for these types of things. If he hears it, it's probably happening, or it's probably in the works, or it's just being talked about. You know, that the devs are just talking about what's next, because obviously with the Black Panther game, they might be talking about what comes after that, who they can feature after that, and maybe that's what he overheard, the part about Iron Man. It's like, oh, we're doing a Black Panther, let's do Iron Man after it. Maybe that's what he overheard, is what I'm saying. But in a general sense, Iron Man would be a very logical character for Marvel to want to feature in a video game, because he hasn't actually had his own video game since the PS3. And that was based on the Iron Man 2 movie. And after that, Iron Man disappeared until Marvel's Avengers. I mean, yeah, it was in a couple of little side games, but the main game that he had to himself was based on the MCU film. And it was shit. Yeah, it was completely shit. There's no other word for it. It was terrible. It was awful. But he hasn't had the spotlight since then, and for them to actually do this, it's very risky. I'm going to go with risky, because Marvel's Avengers wasn't received very well, and they've really got to be careful when making these superhero games now, because the smallest bit of backlash when they release, and that's it for them. They're just dead. Which is probably what happened to the movie versions of the MCU games. You know, after a certain point in the MCU, the games for those, they just stopped. You know, we had one on X-Men Origins Wolverine, which in my opinion was one of the best superhero games to date, except for Marvel Spider-Man, of course. And you know, that one really got it right, in my opinion. But all the others, they all failed, and you know, nothing came from it after that. They just stopped making them, and it's a real shame, because I would have loved to have a game based around the Infinity Saga, or rather a game based on Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame. It would have been absolutely incredible to play those events. But sadly, we didn't get that. They all stopped and went off to other pastures. Anyway, The character has seen a massive rise in popularity over the course of the past decade. That is primarily thanks to its main leading man in the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. His portrayal of Iron Man in the MCU, you just can't see anybody else playing him, you know? And I completely agree wholeheartedly that Robert Downey Jr. was perfect for the role. I can't imagine anybody else playing him. It was before I go into whole fanboy mode, I'm just going to move on. Now, as such, to see the character now get his own individual game would actually make a fair amount of sense. You know, given his featurette in Marvel's Avengers. He did have a big part in Marvel's Avengers, you know, but he wasn't the main playable focus of Marvel's Avengers. That was Kamala. So for him to have his own open world game and his own unique story, that is interesting to say the least. And where they could go with that story is just anywhere. You know, they could tell an origin, they could tell it years in his career, they could tell it at the end of his career, like he's dying and they're bringing in Ironheart, or War Machine's taking over, something like that. I don't know. What I'm saying is they can do anything they want with it. They can put it anywhere in Iron Man's timeline. I just hope they don't make the mistake of including the Avengers. Because we've seen what happens when you put the Avengers together in a game. And, well, you're looking at it. Doesn't go well. But as I was saying earlier, once again, just give all superhero game titles to Insomniac Games. You know, they've done it, and they've proved that they can do it right. You know, they've done Spider-Man, which was beautiful. They did Miles Morales Spider-Man, which was beautiful again. And now they're doing Wolverine. Don't have much detail or information on Wolverine, so I'm going to leave that there. But it is worth stressing that Henderson himself says that he is not sure that this rumor will prove to be accurate. You know, like I said, he could have just overheard what the studio might be planning next. So, you know, do take everything that I've said here or that he mentioned in his tweet with a major grain of salt for the time being. Even though it would seem feasible for Marvel and EA to want to collaborate on an Iron Man game after Black Panther, we won't know for certain if this is happening until an official statement comes about. So, as such, don't get too excited until we actually learn more in an official capacity or until something gets announced down the road. Now, let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see Iron Man get his own video game? Do you think he deserves the spotlight? If not, which character would you be hoping to see EA work with outside of Black Panther? Now, let me know for yourself down in the comments. I would really like to hear your input on this because superheroes have always been a big part of my life. You know, I've loved them since I was old enough to talk. And that's never going to change. I'm 28 years old now, and that is never going to change. I will be 50 years old, and I will still be fanboying over the latest Spider-Man movie. It's just superheroes are part of they're part of our culture. You know, it's the kind of thing that we all wish we could be when we're kids. And when we get older, we just start to enjoy them, because when we're kids, we feel like we're watching real life events. But then when we get older, we're like, oh yeah, these are all just actors. But you still wish you could do that. You still wish you could swing around a city on webs. You still wish you could fly around in a suit of armor. You still wish you could teleport yourself across the city. All that stuff. It never changes from when you're a kid to when you're an adult. So yeah, do let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's the right time for more superhero games? Do you think it's too soon after the, let's face it, failure that Marvel's Avengers was? And do you think EA Games is the right studio to do it? Because personally, I don't. And this is what I said I was going to come back to. I personally believe that Insomniac Games should be given the reins, so to speak, for all future superhero projects, because they've proved they can do it right and do it correctly. Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, maybe they were on the mark with Guardians of the Galaxy, but because of Marvel's Avengers failure, nobody really gave it a chance, so that failed as well. So really what I'm trying to say here is just stop. Just Marvel needs to sign an exclusive deal with Insomniac Games, and stop making them exclusives. Spider-Man was an exclusive to PlayStation. It was an exclusive to PlayStation in Marvel's Avengers on the Insomniac Spider-Man, but they need to stop making it an exclusive, because I think everybody deserves to enjoy this game. I mean, they've just brought it over to PC, and yeah, the PC players will absolutely obliterate it, ruin it, and destroy it with mods, but still, it gives them the opportunity to play it, because PC gamers, they are really defensive and protective over their console. So, they deserve to play it as much as console players. And the same goes for Xbox. I'm a PlayStation guy through and through, but I believe all consoles should have the benefit of these games. I don't believe in exclusive titles. And I'm pretty sure anyone watching this now or in the future will agree with me. But I am thinking that it could be the wrong time for this type of video game. Once again, given the failure of Marvel's Avengers, I really think that any studio working on a superhero game needs to be very, very careful, whether they make an open world game or just a game similar to Marvel's Avengers, where you're in limited worlds and you're fighting a bunch of goons, going here, stopping that, and then mission over. They need to be really careful what they do with it, because, well, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics got it completely wrong. If Marvel's Avengers had been open world, or the environments had been open world, say that this particular clip on screen is from Jersey City. Say if the entire area had been open world, like all of Jersey City and then Manhattan, that would have worked. I would have liked that in an Avengers game. But, we're limited and confined to these little box spaces in this game. And that's what I'm saying devs need to be careful about. They really need to be careful if they're doing the open world side of things like Marvel Spider-Man, or the little closed-in box section like this. But before I continue ranting and raving about open world games or sandbox games or RPGs or whatnot, I think I'm going to call the video there. So I want to thank you all so much for stopping by. I do appreciate it. I will, of course, keep you all updated if there is any more information regarding the Iron Man game or Black Panther game from EA. But again, I do believe that EA is the wrong studio for it, but, that's been covered before. I'm not going to cover it again. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope it was informative for you. Whether you knew about it or not, I hope it gave you some, hope. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Stay tuned this week, because we have a couple of videos incoming. Probably going to do a live stream on Horizon Forbidden West, because I promised I'd bring the story for that, so we're going to be doing that. I'll probably be doing another live stream on Cyberpunk, because I really didn't want to like that game, but I went back to it after my live stream the other day, and I'm kind of ashamed to say that I'm kind of liking it, and I really don't want to like it, but I am liking it, so I might live stream it. Just stay tuned, because we've got a lot of content incoming. Like I said, I know I've got a lot to do to earn back your trust and your viewership after disappearing for so long, but not to worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm back, and I'm here to stay. That being said, then, this has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.